Welcome back, everyone. It is what is it now? Part 6? It's part 6. Or is it part 7? The title will tell you. Now, we are in Egypt, and this is the Arab conquest of Iran and Egypt. We just saw Alexandria fall to siege. The Nubians, or what was it? Donglia, actually held off the Rashiduns. We haven't seen a faction hold them off in a while. However, Donglia really isn't just such an important place. I'm glad you're with me. Make sure you hit that like button and leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. But let's just jump right back into it. This is the early Muslim expansion. I almost blanked there. The early Muslim expansion. That was it again. Arab conquest of Iran and Egypt. Lego.
After a month or two of recuperation, Amr assembled his armies from their bivouacs and personally led them west into the desert during September of 642. After a month of hard marching, the Muslims eventually arrived at a still Roman city known as Barca, which, having no arrangements for defense, quickly surrendered. This was the first act of the decades-long Islamic conquest of a region which is now called the Maghreb.
What is it called? Maghreb? Maghreb. Okay, gotcha.
Amr had Uqba ride inland from the coast, where he successfully pacified the area of arid desert between Barca and Sawila without violence. The poor population quickly proved law-abiding and reliable in their payment of taxes, so Amr decreed that part of the revenues
And you see, not only are they conquering the coastal cities, but pretty deep, like probably 100 kilometers or more in the middle of that harsh desert, which they thrive in. They're also setting up probably garrisons in Jivia for the tax and whatnot.
Coming in from the entire Fezzan region would be spent to alleviate poverty there. Then in spring 643, the Muslim army advanced on and blockaded the Roman garrisoned city of Tripoli.
That's a big one.
Amr set up his camp on an elevated section of terrain east of the city and waited, realizing that such a coastal settlement could be navally resupplied for an extended period of time.
Yep.
Lacking siege weapons, he also lacked the ability to reduce fortifications. After 2 months of relative inactivity, 8 of Amr's warriors galloped off west of the city for a hunting trip. When these hunters began making their way back around noon, the sheer heat of the day led them to ride back along the coast. All of a sudden, they came upon Tripoli's western boundary, where the city wall met the sea, and discovered that the section was only thinly protected.
It's just so funny because obviously these people don't have satellites, they don't have GPS and they don't even have hot air balloons yet. So they're not able to kind of have surveillance at an aerial view. So this happen chanceness, we've seen this twice now. Once, I believe, at Babylon, and now at Tripoli, where just they started to ride around it, and wow, they found a weakness. That's crazy, isn't it?
In a display of bravery or foolishness, these 8 intrepid opportunists used Tripoli's vulnerable flank to infiltrate their way inside the city. Before the defenders even realized what was happening, the Muslim group reached the city center and began slaying enemies. Such unexpected violence triggered a bout of extreme panic within the city, both among the civilians and Tripoli's defending forces. In fact, a large number of the armed soldiers within the city believed that a large enemy contingent had somehow gotten inside, and because of this, took refuge aboard a number of anchored ships in the harbor.
Okay. I've been riding with the narrator all up to this point. And I'm just going to challenge you guys as well in the comments. Are they that inept? Are they that poor of fighters, the Romans, to not be able to take down eight individuals? 8! This feels either far-fetched, which means a tall tale, or underestimated. Instead of 8, it could be like 30. It's just really hard for me to believe that 8 people took down Tripoli. Technically, I mean, it's not taken down yet, but 8 I don't know, man. This is hard to believe.
Amr caught wind of the pandemonium taking place inside the city, and so quickly set about exploiting the weakness. Arraying his warriors with haste, the Arab commander ordered a full-scale assault to scale Tripoli's enfeebled walls.
Now this makes sense. So let's, how I would illustrate it, not knowing really much of anything, you know, I'm just reacting to this. Most likely, here's a theory. I'm going to throw a theory out there. The people that went to the boats, that might not have happened quite yet. I'm thinking that these individuals are still in the city, and then when these two like rectangles coming into the city now, once they go in there, that's what creates the panic, not 8 people. I don't know, man. I'm just saying that 8 people.
In yet another action of which we have left no detail, the Muslims managed to get inside and joined their 8-strong vanguard.
Especially since there's not a lot of details on this. We're really, it's hard. I mean, we have one account.
Willing to fight any further, the Roman defenders took whatever they could carry and departed aboard their ships, leaving Tripoli to Amr's army.
That's hard to believe, man. I'm sorry.
While most of the army stayed in the city for a while, the conqueror of Egypt sent a swift detachment of cavalry about 40 miles to the west, where the population of a town known as Sabrata were still carefree. They had heard rumors of fighting for neighboring cities, but it would be a while before the war reached them, if ever. The next morning, Sabrata's Roman guards opened the gates of their city, and its population began leading animals out to graze for the day. Unfortunately for them, it was at this moment that the Islamic cavalry unit struck completely by surprise, getting through the gates, killing the majority of the defending troops, and sacking the town. With that done, they returned to Tripoli.
Quick. Very quick.
Having succeeded, Amr longed for more and eagerly penned another letter to Caliph Umar containing both the good news of victory and a request to continue his conquest. I
bet you the Romans are just so disgusted by the efforts of their people in Egypt and Maghreb. They're just disgusted, man. I would be disgusted, like barely putting up a fight, running away, being cowards. I'm just saying, guys, like they are not putting up a fight.
This was rejected, as the Caliph was worried about overextending his forces. And this time, there was no loophole or clever ploy that Amr could use to bypass Umar's decree and continue his relentless campaigning. Therefore, after allowing his army to recuperate in Tripoli for a time, Amr travelled back to Fustat and remained there, quietly administering his Egyptian domain and dealing with whispers of future rebellion. Although Umar had spared the rest of Byzantine Africa for the time being, that wouldn't last long. However, as the combat in North Africa was winding down, the situation on the Persian front was becoming heated again.
The Sassanids!
Sa'd's army was eager to pursue Yazdegerd across the mountains. However, Umar's refusal halted any further eastward expansion for the time being.
Right, because remember, guys, he wanted to have like a metaphorical, or maybe it's not a metaphorical, maybe it's a real wall that divides that of Persia and Arabia, or whatever you want to call it, the Caliphate. Like I said, is it metaphorical? Is it the mountains being the wall? Is it a wall of just the cities, of making, you know, a line of cities be the wall? I don't know, but Umar was not having it.
The Caliph's command, Sa'd began combing Iraq for a place where he could establish a permanent military garrison. Eventually, after receiving guidance from the locals, Sa'd found a promising area of land in Siristan, where the land is both dry, well-watered, and is overgrown with thistles, and constructed a colony that would eventually grow into the city of Kufa.
Sounds familiar.
Far to the southeast, another Arab raiding force of 800, led by Utbah bin Ghazwan, began searching for a base of their own, and came across an arid area covered in rocks, and it was there that Utbah began work on a settlement which eventually developed into modern Basra. It seemed as though the frontier between the Caliphate and the Sassanid Empire would calcify at the Zagros Mountains, allowing Sa'd and Umar a brief time to consider administrative questions. However, the post-Jalula status quo wouldn't last for long. Unwilling to accept the permanent loss of their Mesopotamian heartland due to haughty imperial pride, the Sassanids continued backing military action against the Caliphate, led by Hormuzan, head of one of Persia's premier families. During the retreat from Qadisiyah, Hormuzan had split off from the main column with his personal levy of survivors and marched back to his estates in Khuzestan. This territory formed a vulnerable bulge, being the only remaining imperial Sassanid territory west of the Zagros Mountains.
Interesting, so it's probably the next target, right?
With little chance of resisting a concerted Muslim invasion of his lands, Hormuzan decided to go on the attack. From a forward base at the greatest city of his province, Awaz, the Persian general began launching quick raids into the area of Maysan in 638. As these attacks increased in frequency, Hormuzan established 2 additional bases even further west near Manazir. Utbah was unable to deal with the Persian attacks with his mere 800 troops and appealed to Sa'd for aid. In response, the commander-in-chief ordered Numan bin Mukarin with a few thousand warriors to bolster Utbah's strength. The combined Muslim force launched a lightning campaign that defeated Hormuzan's army in its forward bases and pushed the frontier east to the Karen River. Suitably chastened by the reverses his soldiers had suffered, the Persian general concluded an unstable peace with his 2 Muslim counterparts, claiming to submit to the caliph's suzerainty. The remainder of 638 passed without further warfare on the Persian front, except for a single act elsewhere, the so-called Fiasco of Fars. One of Sa'd's generals and governor of the uneventful province of Bahrain, Ullah bin al-Hadrami, sought to increase his own status and launched a reckless amphibious assault across the Persian Gulf.
That's pretty interesting. You know, we haven't seen something like that before.
Landing on the coast of Fars, the Arab force headed towards Persepolis, managing to defeat a small militia in a costly battle before being surrounded and trapped by the Sassanids. The naval warfare despising caliph found out what Hadrami had done and was furious, but
yeah, because remember, he does not like water. He is just upset at water. Water is not a friend of Umar.
Nevertheless sent Utbah to rescue the beleaguered governor, after which he was dismissed from his position.
Oh my god. Because of the water? Well, I think it's probably because of the advancement, more or less, but the water thing's still funny.
Hormuzan used the respite granted by his truce with the Muslims to levy more soldiers, and in that time also received imperial reinforcements from Hulwan. Now reinforced, he took advantage of the treaty's unclear boundary terms as an excuse to reinitiate hostilities in early 639. The new governor of Basra, Abu Musa, was aware of his caliph's command to avoid taking any further Persian territory, so he wrote to Umar explaining the situation and asking for guidance. Umar responded with an order to take Awaz and stop Hormuzan's attacks. This prompted Musa to march his forces to the river Karen and face off against the Persian lord across its breadth. Feeling confident about his chances, Hormuzan invited the Arab army across the river with the aim of facing and crushing it in a pitched battle. Musa gladly accepted, crossing by a bridge north of the city, defeating the Sassanid provincial force in a grueling fight and forcing Hormuzan into flight to Ram Hormuz. A typically aggressive pursuit force of Arab cavalry forced the overwhelmed Persian commander to retreat even further east. From a strong position behind yet another river, Hormuzan parleyed for peace with the Muslims, offering to recognize their conquest of Awaz while retaining a remnant of his own district.
That was pretty easy, once again.
The Sassanid reinforcements were pouring into northern Khuzestan in such large numbers that the preparations for another military campaign could no longer be kept secret. At this point, Sa'd was replaced as governor at Kufa by Ammar bin Yasir, who sent troops to Musa to subdue the Persian threat without delay. From Awaz, Musa launched his thrust against Hormuzdan's forces at Ram Hormuz, defeated them in a brisk engagement, and subsequently captured most of eastern Khuzestan. Hormuzdan retreated north to the Sassanid concentration point at Shushtar, a highly fortified, walled city in the Zagros foothills. Unsure about his ability to take on such a stronghold with his current strength, Musa had 1,000 fresh warriors sent to him from Kufa. With these additional warriors, Musa advanced north, captured Shushtar and Hormuzdan along with it, followed relatively
I'm surprised they captured him, you know, instead of just,
quickly by the truly ancient city of Susa. Returning to Basra after this victory, Musa sent a subordinate to capture the final garrison in Khuzestan. This was Junde Shapur, who succeeded by late 641. With the seizure of this final city, all of Khuzestan and Sassanid territory west of the Zagros was now under Muslim rule.
That's impressive.
Despite the loss of Iraq, Sassanid Persia east of the Rocky Barrier was still a cohesive and powerful empire, with loyal territories as far off as India. After the fall of Khuzestan to Musa's army, Yazdegerd dispatched urgent orders to all of his remaining provinces to raise troops and send them to Nahavand, a city on the primary transportation artery west. Throughout the later part of 641, contingents from cities across Iran and beyond, such as Isfahan, Ray and Hamadan, and many others, arrived at Nahavand, until at the turn of 642, an army of around 60,000 had come together.
And we're going to stop right there because I know it's just going to be a crazy campaign that they're going to go across those mountains. And I want to kind of compact these into bite sizes, like I told you, to really hold the information, since it's just going so fast. This is not like a lot of the videos I react to, which are minute events. Not minute events, but they're specific events that go into granular details versus almost, you know, a decade of fighting and territory, and it's just going so fast. Like they beat these people at this city, then they went to this city and won there. So I need to, you know, take time, reflect, and understand and react to this in bite sizes. So I hope you guys understand. But it looks like they've made, you know, on the North African front, they made really good progress. Pretty much, I guess not taking Tripoli, but pretty much taking out the Romans from Tripoli. I'm sure that they'll reoccupy until there's another conquest towards the Maghreb area. In terms of the this area northeast of the Tigris and Euphrates, in this little pocket, they were able to finally take out this stubborn leader and win out these few cities. So now the Sassanid or the Persian Empire is pretty much just east and north of these mountains. So it's going to have, it's going to be an epic conquest for them to kind of like go through these mountains or defend within the mountains. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I hope to, you know, react with you guys next time on that one. So I appreciate you guys watching again. Make sure you leave a comment and a like. And as always, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Have a great day. Bye-bye.